All right, everyone, welcome back to the Land of Chem. I am your host and the author. My name is Jeffrey Drum. Thank you all so much for joining me again. All right, everyone, welcome back. This is episode 133, and today we will resume our investigation that began in episode 91 with an examination of the enigmatic site known as the Lost Pyramid. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, this is the channel for you. So please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube. Don't forget to click that little notification bell so that you do not miss the new episodes that premiere twice per week. Please like, comment, share, and stay tuned if you want to help support this channel and get access to exclusive research and unreleased footage that you will not see anywhere else. Check out the Land of Chem members only channel. Today I'm rocking some of the new Ancient Odysseys merch from my wife Alexa's channel. I'll put a link to all of her stuff in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @TheLandOfChem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our two new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats, for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's intro, so without further ado, let's get right to it. And just a quick reminder, the second 2024 Land of Chem Ancient Alchemy and Ascension Tour is on, and bookings are still available. If you're interested in coming to Egypt to see the pyramids for yourself, including special permission access to Abu Sir and a private entry into all three chambers of the Great Pyramid of Giza at night during this epic adventure experience coming up in early winter later this year, please send me an email to contact@thelandofchem.com with the subject line Egypt Tour 3, and I will send you the full tour itinerary and pricing details. Thank you all so much, and I will see you soon here in the Land of Chem. All right, everyone, here we go with tonight's episode. Now, to begin, here are some pictures of the site known as the Lost Pyramid during the original excavation after its quote-unquote discovery in 2017 that was fully documented during an archaeological project done in conjunction between the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities and the Smithsonian. And I'll put a link to that original video in the description below if you'd like to watch the full thing. Here, you can see the eastern entrance to the structure, a unique feature of the site as most of the shafts leading into the internal chambers come in from the north. Here is a shot of the central platform with these areas to the south still covered in sand and rubble. And another picture from a similar vantage before all of this material here was removed from the site. Now, looking toward the south at the covered primary chamber and the two flanking shafts that were revealed during the excavation that you will see in just a moment. Now here, they have removed all of this sand from the southern half of the structure, revealing the red granite and quartzite primary container component. And here, they are preparing to lift the lid using no power equipment whatsoever, just an A-frame, a gantry, and a pulley system. And two guys, one pulling each chain attached to the pulleys, were able to easily raise this massive piece of red granite of the lid using this setup, which is essentially known as a gantry crane. What you are looking at here is one of the greatest, quote-unquote, lost secrets of ancient lifting technology, gantry cranes and the physics of compound pulleys. Now let me point out a few critical details so you can understand what's going on in this picture. These, here and here, are cloth lifting straps attached to the compound pulleys here in the center. and then wrapped around the stone. Up here, they added 2 wooden railroad ties to the gantry, the exact same wooden railroad ties that you can see down here. So this metal frame is essentially just a support for the 2 pieces of wood that they added to the gantry spanning the frames. And you can see that the cloth lifting straps here and here are wrapped around the 2 wooden railroad ties that were added to the gantry. So the entire weight of this massive piece of red granite is easily supported by 2 9-by-7-inch pieces of wood railroad ties in this A-frame configuration. This system is completely scalable. So if you have a larger stone, you build bigger A-frames, wooden gantries, and add more compound pulleys. And the physics works the exact same. This, ladies and gentlemen, is how massive stones were lifted in the ancient world, and absolutely nothing has changed today. Now, I feel it is my duty to clarify an unfortunate myth that has been perpetuated by the community of quote-unquote lost ancient high technology researchers, end quote, that we do not have the technology or capability to lift large stones today. These quote-unquote researchers will show you an image like this and make the claim that our modern cranes do not have the capacity to raise 100-ton or 1,000-ton stones. This is absolute nonsense. We absolutely can, have, and do lift weights that far surpass that of any ancient stone. But this is not the right type of crane or equipment for the job. Now let me shed some light on this subject and give you some perspective on weights. The stone containers in the Serapeum are about 100 tons plus a 50-ton lid. The trilithon stones of Baalbek are 800 tons. And this stone here, that is still in the quarry, known as the Forgotten Stone, weighs in at 1,650 tons, making it the largest stone ever quarried in the ancient world. Some of these quote-unquote researchers will tell you that we do not have the capacity, technology, or capability to lift and move this type of weight today. Well, let me set the record straight on this topic and introduce you to this. The Tyson Gantry Crane, and I will quote here, "The world's most powerful crane is 133 meters tall and spans 120 meters, which is wider than a soccer field. It has a lifting capacity of 20,000 tons and holds the Guinness World Record for the heaviest weight ever lifted." Let me say that again. It has the lifting capacity of 20,000 tons, 12 times more than the largest ancient stone ever quarried. This gantry crane would laugh in the face of those tiny ancient stones and lift them into the air as if they were insignificant pebbles. And if you look at the configuration of this giant gantry crane, it is essentially the exact same as the small-scale apparatus erected at the Lost Pyramid to lift that lid, by 2 people, nonetheless, with some supporting frames, a gantry spanning across the top, and a complex system of compound pulleys. Like I said before, the physics of lifting technology embodied within the A-frame, gantry, and compound pulley is scalable. Here is another example of a moving gantry crane that slides along a rail system with the exact same configuration and physics of A-frames, gantries, and compound pulleys that I just showed that were utilized at the Lost Pyramid. We also have ship-to-shore gantry cranes that are used to move immense payloads from container ships onto the docks. So just imagine here, instead of containers loaded on this ship, we have a massive ancient barge moving huge red granite blocks from the Aswan quarry along the Nile River, transported directly to the construction site at Giza, and offloaded using a ship-to-shore gantry crane system. There would have been huge wooden lifting equipment just like this, and the same type of lifting technology was utilized across the ancient world. Something like what you see here. All of which would have been completely disassembled upon completion of the construction project. The only difference between the modern and ancient being the materials that were used. But as I just showed at the Lost Pyramid, wooden beams and cloth lifting straps are still being used today for this type of heavy lifting applications. So the next time you see a post by one of these quote-unquote lost ancient high technology researchers, end quote, showing you this crane and telling you that we don't have the capability of lifting the weight of these ancient stones today, just know that they are intentionally showing you the wrong type of equipment. And make sure to comment that gantry cranes, like the Tyson gantry crane, can and have lifted heavier loads than were ever dreamed of by any ancient civilization, with a staggering modern-day lifting capacity of 20,000 tons. Just as I have shown that the principles of chemistry employed by our modern industrial civilization have not changed when compared to ancient chemistry technology. The principles of physics utilized in modern lifting technology also have not changed when compared to that of ancient civilizations. And remember the profound quote from Archimedes, quote, "Give me a place to stand and a lever long enough, and I will lift the world," end quote. Now, let's return to our investigation of the Lost Pyramid with an examination of the quarry site. Now, in the remainder of this episode, we are going to do a comparison of some research from Keith Hamilton's Layman's Guide to the Pyramid of Amenemhat, where he presents another exceptional 3D recreation of the Lost Pyramid with some of my on-site expedition evidence from 2 research investigations of this site. Starting here with the Google Maps image showing the Lost Pyramid adjacent to this massive quarry pit. And Hamilton states here, we will now turn our attention to the new pyramid discovered in 2017. Discovered during quarrying activities, the above satellite image highlights its precarious hold at the edge of the quarry. Announced to the press in April 2017, not much more has been released of the structure since. The clearest picture of the structure so far is courtesy of the documentary Egypt's Lost Pyramid. From this documentary and few images released by the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities, I will attempt a rough reconstruction of the substructure. And as I mentioned before, I will put a link to this original documentary, Egypt's Lost Pyramid, and Hamilton's guide in the video description below. So it appears that this quarry site was being utilized in both the modern and ancient times, and I will present some on-site evidence to support this conclusion. First, let's dive into Google Earth so you can see the terrain surrounding the Lost Pyramid. All right, here we go. Now, let's begin here at the Red Pyramid, looking north. And we will move south until we reach the Lost Pyramid and Quarry site. So here you can see the Red Pyramid, the Bent Pyramid, and the Black Pyramids of Dashur. And here we have the first quarry adjacent to the Lost Pyramid. And here you can see a massive mining pit operation. And we will explore this area just a little bit so you can see the depth and extent of this immense mining operation, where they are clearly excavating some sort of black material. And returning here to the mining pit adjacent to the Lost Pyramid. And here you can see the remains of the Lost Pyramid and a mud brick structure that is connected directly into the quarry pit through this channel. The first indication that these structures were intentionally built upon the precipice of a massive, ancient mining operation. All right, now, up here, we have the site of the Lost Pyramid and the adjacent quarry. And just to the south, there is a massive mining operation where they are excavating the same black material that's found here. So I did some research on this mining company and discovered that these sites are operated by the Atfal al-Mustafa Quarry Company, the children of Mustafa Quarry. And you can see here and here that there is a rather unfortunate misspelling and mistranslation from Google, stating first Talfa instead of Atfal, meaning children. And here, the Mustafa Child Quarry. And I'll read both of these to you right now. Tuatha al-Mustafa Quarry. Thank God the Tuatha al-Mustafa Quarry was opened in Dashur, the quarry of Sheikh el-Arab in the past, which needs no introduction, the finest types of Tuatha. Again, a misspelling of the word Atfal, meaning children. Here, it says, from the Mustafa Child Quarry. Thank God the Mustafa Child Quarry was opened in Dashur, the old Sheikh el-Arab Quarry, which needs no introduction, the best type of children. So clearly they are not excavating children from this quarry. But there is no website or data to confirm exactly what is being extracted from these pits. But I did find a few images from the company owner showing that they are definitely not quarrying stone from this site, but rather mining this black, sandy material that you can see here being dumped into a truck and here being exported out of the site. Now, I have no direct way to confirm what this material is, but as soon as I saw the black material deep inside of this pit during my first expedition to the Lost Pyramid, it immediately reminded me of this. The Egyptian black sand, which I have discussed in several previous episodes, mainly the chemical analysis of the Red Pyramid staining, part 2, also linked in the video description below. So these black sand heavy metal mineral deposits are mostly found on the Mediterranean coast of Egypt and contain valuable materials like ilmenite, garnet, rutile, and zircon. And these black sands are formed where mineral concentrate is left after wave reworking of highly mineralized sand dunes. So clearly, the beach coast is an ideal location for these deposits to form. But the same process may have been occurring in the very ancient past, where alluvial fluctuations of the Nile River flooding into this area near Dashur may have also left these mineral concentrate deposits. And as previously explained, these black sand, heavy minerals contain extremely valuable deposits of metal. As mentioned in this article, heavy minerals including monazite in Egypt's black sand deposits. Egypt's black sand deposits are located in the Nile Delta between Alexandria and Rosetta. They contain substantial reserves of heavy mineral sands, including ilmenite, magnetite, hematite, zircon, rutile, and monazite. And again here in this article, the Egyptian placer deposits, a potential source for nuclear raw materials, stating here, the mentioned deposits comprise huge reserves of the 6 heavy economic minerals, which include monazite, zircon, rutile, ilmenite, magnetite, and garnet. The first 3 economic minerals, namely monazite, zircon, and rutile, contain uranium, thorium, zirconium, hafnium, titanium, as well as rare earth elements. The beach rutile is almost pure titanium dioxide, assaying up to 98.64% of titanium dioxide. The monazite concentrate will be processed for the production of uranium, thorium, and rare earth oxide cakes, while zirconium, hafnium, uranium, and thorium oxides could be extracted from the zircon concentrate. So now, let's take an up-close look at the Lost Pyramid site itself. With this picture, taken from the center of the structure looking north toward the red pyramid, the bent pyramid, and the black pyramids of Dashur. Here is a look into the site from the east during my first expedition, with the cavernous mining pit in the background. And again, another image from the east from my second visit to the site. Now, let's take a look at these step-like features. These things are tiny. They are barely long enough to step a full foot on, and they are incredibly shallow, maybe 2 to 3 inches high. These are not stairs for people to walk down. I descended down this passage, attempting to walk on them as if they were stairs, and it was an absolutely ridiculous undertaking. Not to mention that this entire passage would have been covered with stones, just like any other pyramid entrance, making it virtually impossible for anyone to effectively walk down these so-called stairs in a crouched position. So if they aren't stairs, what are they? My first impression is that they may have been a type of ratchet locking mechanism for the pump within the eastern descending shaft, ensuring that once the pump reached the bottom, it would remain locked in place at each step, ensuring that the internal pressure would never be released. However, upon further consideration and research, I am now more inclined to believe that this step system was for the production of turbulent flow and aeration or oxygenation of the fluid. As you can see here in this article, air-water flows down stepped chutes, turbulence and flow structure observations, stating here in the abstract, interactions between turbulent waters and atmosphere may lead to strong air-water mixing. This experimental study is focused on the flow down a staircase channel characterized by very strong flow, aeration, and turbulence. So these steps may have been designed to produce a highly aerated or oxygenated turbulent flow of liquid into the internal chamber system. Next, in this article here, stability of dissolution flutes under turbulent flow. Stating here in the abstract, the dissolution of a solid surface under turbulent fluid flow can lead to the formation of periodic ripple-like structures with a wavelength dependent upon flow velocity. The importance of including not only the mean flow velocity, but also the turbulent component of the flow in the dissolution model is emphasized. The numerical experiments also compare dissolution profiles for gypsum and calcite. This ripple-like pattern is exactly what I discovered leading into the reaction chamber system at the Pyramid of Teti, as you can see again here. So there may be something to this concept of creating turbulent, aerated, or oxygenated flow into these pyramid chemical reaction chamber systems. More on this coming up soon. Now, let's take a look at this mud brick structure, maybe 20 meters to the north of the Lost Pyramid. And as I explored this area, I noticed that there is a channel leading directly into the enclosure and out the back, as you can see here. And this channel leads directly into the mining pit. I also discovered a remarkably similar component during a recent expedition to the Giza plateau, where I found this channel connected directly into the huge quarry or mining pit to the southeast of the final pyramid. So now I'll put in a clip so you can see this first mud brick structure and channel for yourself.
Hell yeah. And I just found it. All right. So we were just over there. Again, black pyramid, red pyramid, bent pyramid. And look at this massive excavated area. I don't know if this was done during the modern time or what, but this is a huge pit. Absolutely immense, like a mining area. So you can see, I mean, I'm not going to even get close to the edge there because that is a huge drop off. But I just, haha, we're good. Tamim. Okay, so here we can see the remains of a mud brick structure, which this is going to date from the dynastic period. All right, so we're just going to take a look at something real quick here that I already find very interesting. Look at this channel. See the channel leading out toward the pit. Okay, and this has a very unusual curved configuration. Look at how it curves around like that. Okay, I would not be at all surprised if this was a smelting area. Holy shit. So it looks like there's a beginning of a channel here leading into this area. That channel then continues through this area here and out toward the pit. This is amazing. So I wonder if this was a furnace area or something of that nature. And again, I apologize to pause there. My mind is racing right now trying to figure this out. And again, Mina is over there looking very concerned. He's like, this is not pyramid. All right. So again, you can see the very wavy configuration of the wall here. Certainly a bit unusual. And what I was trying to look at is the elevation of this conduit and channel. Because the one that I showed at the central pyramid is tilted downward so that the material was flowing out away from the structure. And I think this one also does. It's on a slope angle heading down. So it wasn't going into the structure, it was going out of the structure. And whatever was flowing through this conduit would have flowed down in there. Look at that. It's a drainage pit. This goes down here into this massive area. Very, very interesting stuff. Again, more evidence for this ancient chemistry and metallurgy.
All right, now, moving on to this awesome 3D recreation of the Lost Pyramid developed by Keith Hamilton. Now, please keep in mind that the following is absolutely not a criticism of his work, as I highly respect Keith and his research. He had extremely limited data and footage upon which to base this model, and I just have the unique position of having personally visited and documented this site myself. So here, we have the eastern descending shaft leading into this component here. And he shows that these two channels are completely parallel and suggests that they are for a sliding portcullis system. But as you can see here, these channels are not parallel. They curve to the outside. And I found evidence of mortar inside of these channels that is very reminiscent to the mortar found in the channels at the Pyramid of Sahure in Abu Sir, which are known to have housed copper pipes. So I do not think that these channels are a part of a sliding portcullis system, but rather these channels are housings for a pipe system that was once integrated within the structure. Now, here is another clip so you can see these curved channel housings and the entrance into the structure.
And we are now descending into the pressurization shaft. And I have described this as a pump shaft in the previous descriptions of the red and bent pyramid. And in those structures, it was a pump because it was pressing water in and out of the system, also bringing it up to pressure. But then the pressure was also released at some point during the reaction cycle. However, at this structure, it appears that once it was brought up to maximum pressure, that pressure was never intended to be released, as evidenced here by these locking mechanisms. And of course, these would be described as steps by conventional archaeology. However, I do not believe that to be the case, because if you look at the depth of these things, it's only a couple of inches. And this is not human-sized steps that are intended. So these are locking mechanisms. And as the pump or pressurization mechanism moved down this shaft, each one of these steps locked it further into place. So that pressure could never be released. And once that mechanism reached the bottom of the shaft, and let me turn around here, this structure was brought up to maximum pressure. Hence the immense granite beam that you see here, because this entire component would have experienced a tremendous amount of internal pressure. So they've got granite here and then granite here. And there are still many anomalies about this structure that I need to figure out. So we're crossing into the threshold of what would have been the internal chamber system. And you can see here another angled cut into the granite that leads back in this direction. And I can't determine exactly what was in that area. It certainly looks like a flow pattern here. And there was a bunch of trash in this area here. Also appears that there may be a hole down in this area. And none of this has been excavated. So now we're going to turn our attention to these channels, which are flowing down in this direction toward this area. And as I mentioned before, these channels could have been filled with a metal pipe or metal conduit of some sort. There is mortar in here. So there was something mortared into these channels. There's also a component that was in here. Impossible to say exactly what that component is. And again, now we're inside of the structure, the core of the structure. And again, you can see all of these metal joints that were holding these pieces together. So again, another indication of the tremendous amount of internal forces that were involved in the operation of these structures. Here's another joint here. And there was another component that would have sat right in here. And here you can see around the edges the mud brick. And it's impossible to tell what was originally sitting on top of this structure. But it could have been a mud brick pyramid that was cased in limestone. Here's another joint. And there would have been blocks on top of this because there's mortar here. So these are internal blocks that are locked together, and then more stones were stacked on top of it. All right, I just noticed this. So there's definitely some iron oxide here. Reddish brown iron oxide, which it would be hard to say if this was a part of the channel, but this could be part of a channel branching out here and then flowing into these channels. Let me pull back a little bit. So this part here branching out into this channel here and this channel here, which then lead down toward the opening of the structure.
All right, next. Here on the model, you can see that he has added the sliding portcullis block, which simply would not work given the curvature of these channels. They are not parallel as shown here. Next, on to the primary container, which he shows is made completely from red granite. But you can see here that the upper part of the container is actually 3 separate pieces. These first 2 are red granite, and this piece on the southern side of the container is made from red quartzite. And there is a very unusual hole here on the southwestern corner of the container. Here in the front, you can also see the raised northern piece of the lid, which is still sitting on several pieces of railroad ties. And here in the model, we now have the raised northern piece of the lid and the 2 parallel pits on either side of the container that connect into the container housing, which is accurate to the on-site structure. Now, looking into the container, you can see the lower red granite section, all of which was carved from a single piece of stone. The front part of the lid is still raised and sitting on these pieces of railroad ties. The middle red granite part of the lid is still in its original position. And here at the back, you can see the piece of red quartzite that forms the southern part of the container lid, as we just saw from the top. Next, Hamilton has added some of the upper portions of the pyramid, all of which are completely missing, with a chamber housing and A-frame ceiling above the primary container. And I think this may be a fairly accurate representation given the current condition of the site. And here, he has added an enclosed chamber in the middle of the structure that would have isolated and obscured the container housing. I somewhat disagree with this configuration, as I think that the two channels running alongside of the primary container are intended to be open and a functional component of the structure. So now, if you want to see more footage from the Lost Pyramid, check out episode 91, featuring some video from my second expedition to the site, link in the video description below. And also, for anyone on the members-only channel, the full footage from the highly requested Lost Sunday site visit is now available in members-only episode 12. Links to everything in the video description below. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. This was episode 133, The Lost Pyramid, Part 2. I really hope you enjoyed today's video, and in this week's Sunday site visit, I have no idea where we're going. I'm going to leave it up to Alexa to decide, so it'll be a surprise to all of us. If this is the type of content you're interested in regarding the ancient technology of a lost civilization utilizing physics and chemistry, and the function of the Egyptian pyramids and other ancient structures from across the world, please subscribe, like, comment, share, and stay tuned. If you want to help support the channel, check out the Land of Chem members-only channel, thelandofchem.com, and Ancient Odysseys. Links in the video description below. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thelandofchem. Also, don't forget, after you finish watching this video, please go subscribe to our two new channels here on YouTube, Egyptian Trash Cats, for all you cat lovers out there, and Egypt Eats for food reviews. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, thank you all so much for the support. I think that is it for today's episode, so I will see you next time. And just a quick announcement, new Land of Chem merch is now available. I just dropped the Nano Gold 5th degree logo on a black t-shirt and hoodie, and I'm very excited to present the new spectacular white horse logo on a black hoodie and the premium high definition extra large white horse logo on this exceptional quality black t-shirt. And once again, thank you so much to friend and supporter of the channel, Adam Arrington from New Zealand, for collaborating with me on this new logo design. He has done some amazing work in helping me bring my ideas for the Land of Chem logos to life. And if you want to check out more of his work, I'll put a link to his Instagram in the video description below. The Egyptian blue version of the Land of Chem book and the last 30 or so of the signed first edition purple orchid paper print are still available. So if you want to show some love, just check out thelandofchem.com. And thank you all so much for the support. Yo, are you still watching this? Please subscribe to the Land of Chem here on YouTube and click that little notification button. New videos coming out every single week. And check out this other episode. Come on, do it. Do it now.